18 and 19 respectively. Okay? Okay, good. So, but you don't have to identify it here. So if it's tagged here, you just have to place occipital lobe. Okay? No need to place the Brodmann area. Okay? Because once again, we're identifying the gross structures. Okay? Now, we're done with occipital lobe. We're done with all of the other two lobes. What's the last lobe will be the temporal lobe. How many lines should I make? How many sulcus or sulci are there? There should be two sulci. So let's draw two sulci. So this is the same as our temporal lobe because once again, all the other lobes are jealous of our frontal lobe. Because our frontal lobe has that capacity to what? To have those emotions, to have those memory. No, it has a lot of function. But the other lobes are jealous. That's the reason why the other lobes are jealous. So they're also doing it on their own. Okay. So if you have two lines, this must be the superior temporal sulcus, and this is the inferior temporal sulcus. Okay. So when there's a sulcus, there's a gyrus. So when there's a sulcus, there's a gyrus. So this must be the superior temporal gyrus. This is the middle temporal gyrus, and this is the inferior temporal gyrus. You see it? Yes, and we're done. This is the dorsolateral surface. Okay, let's translate. So if you can see the picture here, it's actually the same as the drawing. Only in 3D view. Okay. Sige. Okay. So once again, this here is the cerebral cortex. This is just one hemisphere. And if you see both, sorry, may I have one volunteer to hold the mic for me, please? Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so if you look at this, I have another structure here and another cerebral hemisphere. Sorry if this is a little bit smaller, but it should look like that. Okay. Okay, so there's a little bit of deterioration going on here. Okay, but it looks like that. And if you look at the dorsolateral surface, it looks like this on one side, and it looks like this on the other side. Okay? So the orange marks are actually coming from the top. I'm sorry. Okay? So if we take this one out, then we'll see the cerebral, the median surface. Okay? So this is the median surface of the cerebral cortex. And if you look at the bottom of it, this becomes the basal surface. Okay? And this is what you see in your books. Although a little bit different on the supposed guidance. Right? Okay. So if you can see it, it looks like that. So then we'll go to the one side. So this is the dorsolateral surface of the brain, okay, of one hemisphere. So let's see. Okay. So where's the anterior surface? Anterior part. This is the anterior part here, and this is the posterior part. How or why? This is the two poles. Okay. So you can see the frontal lobe here because of the frontal pole here. Then you have the temporal pole here, right? So this must be the temporal lobe and this is the frontal lobe. Then the next part is what you have to identify, the fissure and the sulci. So the fissure here is the Sylvian fissure. So this one, I'm sure that you'll get this correctly, right? Hindi nagkikumutuo kung hindi nyo makuha. Sylvian fissure. Okay? Now, this one here is the central sulcus of Orlando. So this one here is the central sulcus of Orlando. Okay? Central sulcus of Orlando. Okay? I'll get the other specimen. Okay. So, in this case, this here is now the frontal area, anterior area, and this one here is the posterior, because once again, this is the temporal pole, this is the frontal pole, this is the occipital pole. Now this one here is the central sulcus of Rolando. Central sulcus of Rolando. How did I identify it? Okay, when there's a central sulcus of Rolando, there should be a pre-central sulcus and a post-central sulcus. Right? So you see it? Yes, it's in between. The central sulcus of Rolando sometimes also goes directly into the Sylvian fissure, but in other variations of a model, like this one, it does not really directly continue. This is the central sulcus of Rolando, here, looks like that, and then it stops in this area. Okay, so it does not really go down in the middle, in the Sylvian fissure. So it's a variation. Okay? So, when there is a sulcus, there is a gyrus. So if this is the post-central gyrus, this is the post-central sulcus, this is the pre-central sulcus, this is the, and this is the central sulcus of Rolando, this must be the pre-central gyrus, and this is the post-central gyrus. Do you see it? Yes. Now, I know that there are a lot of sulcus and gyri. Now, as you can see here, there's already a lot, but you really just have to find out those lines. Okay? Because if you look at those lines and if you find those lines, you won't have any difficulty identifying what lobe it is and what structure it is. Okay? So for as long as you see those lines, you won't get lost. Okay? So, once again, this is the central sulcus of Rolando. So anteriorly, it's the pre-central gyrus and the pre-central sulcus. Posteriorly, of the central sulcus of Rolando, you have the post-central gyrus and the post-central sulcus. So let's cut the other model. Okay, if this is the central sulcus of Rolando, okay, this must be the pre-central sulcus. So this is the pre-central gyrus. So if this is the post-central gyrus, because this is the central sulcus of Rolando, this is the post-central sulcus. Okay? Do you see it? Yes.
No, isn't it like too posterior?
Too posterior? No. It's like this na. Okay? So actually for this specimen, there's a very huge gap now because this was taken out. Okay? Okay? So if there's a if this is the frontal lobe, then there must be the what do you call this? The gyrus and the sulci. Okay? If you can see here, this is the first sulcus. So this is the superior frontal sulcus, and this is the inferior frontal sulcus. Okay? Again, superior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal sulcus. If there's a sulcus, there's a gyrus. Okay? So superior frontal sulcus, superior frontal gyrus. Okay? Then you have the middle frontal gyrus, inferior frontal sulcus, inferior frontal gyrus. Sorry, let me... Okay, sorry for that. Once again, superior frontal gyrus, superior frontal sulcus, middle frontal gyrus, middle frontal sulcus, and your inferior frontal gyrus. Okay? And there are 3 gyrus or gyri for the inferior frontal gyrus, right? This is your pars orbitalis. This is your pars triangularis. No, look, it looks like a triangle. And this is your pars opercularis. Do you see it now? Yes. So this is actually pars orbitalis, that's O. Okay. This is triangularis, so it's T. And this one is opercularis, so it's P. So it's OTP. Right? O, T, and P. Orbitalis, triangularis, and opercularis. Okay? You see it? That's the reason behind the shapes. You have a circle, you have a triangle, and you have a letter P. And the rest is extension here. Okay? Do you see it? Yes. Okay. Okay. So we're now done with the frontal lobe. Okay. Now I want you to identify what I point. Say it out loud. Okay. What is this? Okay. You have to place the family name first. Pars triangularis. Okay. This one here is the middle frontal gyrus. This one is the this one? Okay, pre-central gyrus. Okay, this one is the central sulcus of Orlando. This one is the pre-central sulcus. Do you see it? Yes? Yes? Okay. So let's proceed to the parietal lobe. So the parietal lobe, once again, this is the central sulcus of Orlando. Okay. So this is the the post-central gyrus and the post-central sulcus. Okay. So now I told you that there should be only one sulcus. So this is that sulcus. Yes. Now this is that sulcus, and this is known as the intraparietal sulcus. Okay? Yes? Okay. So the intraparietal sulcus is now, if it's on top of it, it's called the superior parietal gyrus. And if it's below it, it's the inferior parietal gyrus. Easy? Dapat easy. Easy? Okay. At the tip of the sylvian fissure, you have the, known as the supramarginal gyrus, and just below it is the angular gyrus. And that's it. Do you see it? Yes? Yes. Okay. Now, I'll let you see the occipital side of things. The median side of things. And this is the parieto-occipital sulcus, which is actually here, a continuation here. Okay? So that's the continuation. Okay. Now, if you can see here, there's an overlap of things, like this one and this one. Okay. Just remember, the gyri and the sulci is was I able to explain the surface area? Or no? I forgot to explain the surface area. Sorry. So you mentioned the gyri and the sulci increases the surface area of the brain, right? So if we spread out the cerebral cortex, make it flat and thin, how big do you think it is?
Quarter of 1 square meter.
A quarter of 1 square meter? How big or how wide will it be?
25% of 1 square meter.
The total, no?
The total. It's as large as a soccer field. Okay, so if you spread this thinly, no, the two cerebral hemispheres is as large as a soccer field. Okay? So if you see it, no, the gyri and the sulci, you might look at it as that, no, and then you might see some overlappings. That's because the sulcus of the gyri goes beneath it. Okay, in some of the variations. But you'll also be able to see it in all of the specimens. Okay? Okay, so let's continue. I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay, so once again, this one here is the intraparietal sulcus. The one on top is the superior parietal gyrus rather, and this one here is the inferior parietal gyrus with the supramarginal gyrus here and the
Angular.
angular gyrus here. Then this is the occipital lobe. Okay? Now, next is the temporal lobe. So, from the sylvian fissure, then you have two sulci. This is the superior temporal sulcus, and this one here is the inferior temporal sulcus. So let me see if we can look at it at another model. Okay, you have the sylvian fissure, then you have the superior temporal gyrus, and the inferior temporal gyrus over here. Okay, this one here is part of the inferior temporal gyrus, and this is what I told you about. That there is an overlapping of the gyri on top of the sulci. Okay, but you'll be able to see a little bit of them on some variations. Okay, so if there is a sulcus again, there is a gyrus. So if this is the sylvian fissure, you have the superior temporal gyrus, your superior temporal sulcus, then you have the middle temporal gyrus, inferior temporal sulcus, and you have the inferior temporal gyrus. Okay? Okay? Any questions so far? None?
No.
Yes.
Where is the calcarine sulcus in the previous?
That's located at the median surface. Okay. So, any questions regarding the dorsolateral surface? None so far? Yes. None? So, I'll now show you the median surface.
Prominent pressure.
Okay. So, can you turn on the lights for me? Thank you. Okay, so let me just draw a little bit of the Okay. Okay. So if we draw it like this, I hope you can. Sorry, let me just try to draw the spaces for you so that you won't get confused with the lines. Okay. I hope you can see it clearly. So this one actually tries to identify this one. Okay? Okay. So let's start from the first, okay? From the beginning. This one is very easy because, you know, if you look at the brain structure, it extends into the median surface. So this is actually your superior frontal gyrus seen on the medial side or the medial surface. Okay, so this one is an extension of this one, right? So this one actually goes toward the median portion. Okay, so that's why it has its own name. Okay, okay, so far, yes. And when there is the central sulcus of Orlando, this lobule or this lobe here is known as the paracentral lobule. Okay? How do you remember that? Once again, this is the central sulcus of Orlando, right? So, para sa central sulcus of Orlando. Okay? Paracentral lobule is para sa central sulcus of Orlando. Do you see it? Do you remember? Is it easy? Okay? So, if this is the superior frontal gyrus, this is the paracentral lobule. There is a sulcus that's in there. That's called the marginal sulcus. So, marginal sulcus. Okay? That's the marginal sulcus. And this one here is known as the quadrate lobe. Okay? That's the quadrate lobe. So why is it called quadrate lobe? When you see quadrate, it has 4 sides, right? So the side here, this is one side, this is the second one, this is the third, and this is the fourth. That's why it was called quadrate lobe. Okay? Do you see it? Yes? Okay. Now, after the quadrate lobe, you have the posterior occipital, parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay? You have the parieto-occipital sulcus. And after the parieto-occipital sulcus, you have the conus. Okay? You have the conus. So, of course, the preconus. So, the preconus is, of course, just before the conus. So the quadrate lobe is also known as the preconus. Okay? So preconus and conus. Okay? So just so you don't forget, it's either you identify the 4 sides, quadrate lobe, or you identify the conus first, and just before that, no, in between the parieto-occipital sulcus, that becomes the preconus. Okay? You see that? You see? Okay. Doon po para central lobule, yung marunduman na nito. Okay? So just after the conus is another fissure. And this is called the calcarine fissure. Okay? If you can see it here, this one is the parieto-occipital sulcus, and this one is the conus, this one is the calcarine fissure. Okay? You see it? Yes? Okay, so that's the calcarine fissure. And you see here, this is the parahippocampal gyrus. And at the end of it, or at the tip of it, you have the uncus. Okay? So, we've already identified all of the surface areas of the medial part of the cerebral cortex. So far, with me? Yes? Yes. Okay, now let's identify the one in the middle. Okay? Do you remember the thalamus that you mentioned before? This is the thalamus. Okay? That is the thalamus. And in between this, no, there's a very thin sheet-like material covering the thalamus in some of the specimens that you have. That is called the septum pellucidum. And the septum pellucidum is, it's like a structure, it's like a wall. Okay, because inside that, no, there's a space. And that space contains your CSF, or your cerebrospinal fluid. Okay, what is that space called?
Subarachnoid space.
Subarachnoid? It starts with letter L. Lateral ventricle. So that is where your lateral ventricle is located. So it is, the boundaries are the thalamus, okay, then a part of the hypothalamus, okay, which is also located in this area here. And then you have the structure here, the septum pellucidum. That is actually the space of the lateral ventricle. Okay? Okay. Now, on top of this, no, you have a great commissure. You have a great commissure, and that is called the corpus callosum. So if you have the corpus callosum here, no, it's this one. Okay? Then you have the thalamus here. So this is the thalamus, and this is the corpus callosum. The corpus callosum has 3 distinct parts. 3 distinct parts. You have the genu, the body, and the splenium. Sorry. The splenium. Okay? So how do you remember that? It's G, GBS. Okay? GBS. That's a range from anterior to posterior. Okay? So you have the anterior here, this is the genu, this is the body, and this is the splenium. Okay? Genu, body, and splenium. Okay? Once again, this is the anterior side, this is the posterior side of things. Okay? Yes? Okay. So let's go above the corpus callosum. Remember, di ba? The corpus callosum is the one that is a commissure. It's a commissure type of fiber which then connects the one hemisphere to the other hemisphere. Okay. So there's a space above it. Okay. So this corpus callosum, okay, there's one gyrus that is found just above the corpus callosum. And he's sad because he's single. Or he or she is single. And that's called cingulate gyrus. Because if you think about it, he's the only one that's there. Cingulate gyrus. So this is the one. Cingulate gyrus. Okay? So the cingulate gyrus is single man siya. Cingulate gyrus. Now, the cingulate gyrus is not spelled as S-I-N-G, right? Cingulate is C-I-N-G, okay? And then cingulate. Okay, now, if there's a gyrus, there's a sulcus. So, if you have a cingulate gyrus here, you also have a cingulate sulcus above it. And if you have a corpus callosum here, above that is the callosal sulcus. Okay? Yes? Any questions? None. Okay, so that completes our median surface. Okay. So I want to discuss the basal surface if that's okay, so that at least we can go with the... Okay, so let me just delete this. Okay. If we draw our... Sorry. This is the lateral surface. This is the lateral part, and this one here is the medial part. Medial portion. Okay. So if we pick this up, and we look at the basal surface of this structure, this is how it looks like. This one here is the posterior, and this one here is the anterior part. Okay. Now, what was the last gyrus that was found here? That's your inferior temporal gyrus, which is an extension of this, right? Okay, once again, your temporal lobe does not want to get left behind by the frontal lobe. So it wants to have its own name within the cortex. So you have the inferior temporal gyrus, and after the inferior temporal gyrus, you have what you call as the collateral sulcus. Once again, it's called the collateral sulcus. Okay? Now, the collateral sulcus is different from, once again, what was this called here? The cingulate sulcus. Okay? Because there are a lot of people who actually interchange them. Okay? Collateral sulcus is located in the basal area, while the cingulate sulcus is located in the median surface. Okay? Now, after the collateral sulcus, you have what you call a gyrus here. And this is known as the fusiform gyrus. Okay? The fusiform gyrus. Now, if you've seen the pre-recorded lecture, what I placed there was, what I said there was actually the parieto-occipital gyrus. Okay? So the parieto-occipital gyrus is actually located just behind the fusiform gyrus. Okay? But in this form, if I tag this gyrus, it's known as the fusiform gyrus. Okay? Then after that will be your parahippocampal gyrus and uncus. Okay? So, any questions so far? None? Yes? Yes, okay. I forgot. If you have the cuneus here, right? And this is the calcarine fissure. You have another sulcus that's actually here. I forgot to mention. And that, no, not sulcus, but a gyrus. Okay, this is called the lingual gyrus. Okay? Okay? So any questions so far? None? So let's proceed with our gross model. Okay. So if this is the gross model, this is the anterior, this is the posterior lobe, right? So in this case, this is one here is the anterior, this one here is the posterior. Okay? Now, if you look at this specimen here, okay, so I just inverted it a bit, but then you see here the central sulcus of Rolando, right? Yeah. You see here the central sulcus of Rolando, right? Okay. Don't take your eyes off of this sulcus, and I want you to trace it towards the midline. Do you see it? It's this one. Right? And if you look at this, if you look at this structure, it's the same. You see here the central sulcus of Rolando, right? And if you take a look at this specimen on the medial side, it has this. Okay? Now, do you see it? Okay. Okay? Did you see it? Yes. So the central sulcus of Rolando is here for this specimen, and the other one is over, where was it? Over here. This one. Okay. So if this is the central sulcus of Rolando, this must be the paracentral lobule. So the paracentral lobule. Yes? Yes. Okay? So if this is the anterior portion, this is the anterior portion over here. So anterior to the paracentral lobule is the superior frontal gyrus. So this one here is the superior frontal gyrus. Okay? So I'll show you the superior frontal gyrus. So superior frontal gyrus, and this is now the superior frontal gyrus over here. Okay? So once again, this is the superior frontal gyrus. Okay? And this one here is the precentral gyrus. So the precentral gyrus is the center of motor sensory. Motor. Okay? So then this is where the homunculus is seen. Right? From the midline, you have the lower extremity here. Okay? Then your upper extremity here. Okay? Then the face. Right? The face here. And then here you have the neck and the the neck. Okay? Or the structures of the neck. You get it? Yes? Homunculus. Okay? Okay. Sige. So let's proceed. If this is the superior frontal gyrus, this is the paracentral lobule, this is the central sulcus of Rolando in this area, then what is this called? This is called the? What was after the paracentral lobule? So it's the marginal sulcus. Okay? This is the marginal sulcus. Okay? So in this part, if this is the paracentral lobule, you have here the central sulcus of Rolando. Okay? Now this one here is the, this one here is the marginal sulcus. Okay? Did you get it? Yes? Yes. So then after the marginal sulcus, you'll see here a four-sided structure. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Right? Then here you have 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what's that called? The quadrate lobe. Okay? So the quadrate lobe, so the quadrate lobe is also known as the precuneus. Precuneus. Okay? So after the precuneus, you have the parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay? So this is the parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay? Then after the parieto-occipital sulcus, you have the cuneus. Okay? You have the cuneus over here. Cuneus over here. Okay? Next is you have the, what is this? The calcarine fissure. This is the calcarine fissure. Okay? So this one here is the calcarine fissure. Okay? And just beneath the calcarine fissure is known as the lingual gyrus. Okay? You see it? Yes. Now, I want you to imagine if you look at this specimen and I put an eye here, okay, it looks like the head of a turtle. Right? It looks like the head of a turtle. This is the shell. Right? And this is the legs. So, this one here is the cuneus or the head. The calcarine fissure is the mouth. And you have the lingual gyrus as the part of the jaw. So that's why it's called lingual gyrus. Because it contains the tongue. Right? It's just me. It's not part of your books. Okay? So for me, this is the back portion, but if you look at it at the turtle's perspective, then this becomes the eye here. Do you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so it's the same as the other side. Now you have the eyes here, then you have the mouth, and then you have the jaw. So it contains the lingual or the lingual gyrus here. Okay? Sige. Okay. So now that we're done with the surface parts, let's then proceed with the parahippocampal gyrus and the uncus. So if we move this one on this side, as you can see, this one here is the parieto-occipital gyrus. Parieto-occipital sulcus. This is the cuneus. And this is the calcarine fissure. Then this is the lingual gyrus. This one here is known as the parahippocampal gyrus. Okay? Parahippocampal gyrus, and when it bulges at the end of the parahippocampal gyrus, that's called as the uncus. So when it's tagged here or pinned here, that is the uncus, and when it's pinned here, that's the parahippocampal gyrus. In this other model, you see here, this is the parahippocampal gyrus, and the uncus over here is actually a bit damaged. Okay, so this here is the uncus. Do you see it? Yes? Yes. Hopefully. Now, let's go to the middle side of things. So this one here is known, the one in the middle or in midline is known as the corpus callosum. Do you remember our Darth Vader, the rubber model? But you have the corpus callosum. You don't have the brainstem yet, no? Sorry. I forgot about that. This is supposed to be level 2. Sorry. Okay, I was too excited to explain. Anyways, this is the corpus callosum, okay, and this one is attached to the other side, or the other hemisphere, okay. This is the anterior side, this is the posterior side, anterior, posterior. So in front of it is known as the genu, this is the body, and this is the splenium, okay. In this side, this is the genu, this is the body, and this is the genu, body, splenium. Okay? Okay? Genu, body, splenium. Okay? This one here is the thalamus. Okay? This one here is the thalamus. Alright? And if you can see this thin structure over here, this one, do you see this? Yes? That is known as your septum pellucidum. Okay? And if you open that, you have the space inside of it. And that space is known as the lateral ventricle. Do you see it? Yes. Okay, that's the lateral ventricle. But inside that, this is how it looks like without the septum pellucidum. Okay? And just in between the corpus callosum and the thalamus is the fornix, which is this structure here. Okay? Okay. Okay, so we're done with the medial surface. Let's go with the lateral. The basal. Okay.
Uncingulate lang.
What did I miss?
Uncingulate.
Cingulate. Yeah, sorry. So if, thank you. So if this is the corpus callosum, okay, above that, the sulcus above that is known as the callosal sulcus. Callosal sulcus first because it's if there's a gyrus, there's a sulcus. So corpus callosum, callosal sulcus, then you see the single gyrus that you see there. And that's why it's called cingulate gyrus. And just above the cingulate gyrus, which is this one here, is known as the cingulate sulcus. Okay? In here, if this is the corpus callosum, you see here the callosal sulcus, then the cingulate gyrus, and then you have the cingulate sulcus. Okay? Do you see it? Okay. Let's see if you can still identify the things that we talked about. What is this lobe called? The quadrate lobe, or also known as the precuneus. Okay, this is the top part of the shell of the turtle, right?
Yes.
The precuneus. Then, if this is the precuneus or the quadrate lobe, this is now the cuneus. Just below that is the lingual gyrus. Okay, malimtan ang gyrus. Lingual gyrus. Okay, just above the lingual gyrus, there's a sulcus called calcarine fissure. Okay, it's a calcarine fissure. And the one here is known as a parieto-occipital sulcus. Okay. Now this one here is the corpus callosum, specifically the genu. Okay. This one here is the superior frontal gyrus. Yes, this is the superior frontal gyrus. So this one here is the paracentral lobule. Okay, because it's for the central sulcus of the lambda. Okay, you get it? Yes. Okay, so let's proceed to the basal view. So coming from this side, once again, I'll show this. No, this one is called the Sylvian fissure. This one is the superior temporal gyrus. This one is the superior temporal sulcus. This is the middle temporal gyrus. This one here is the the inferior temporal sulcus. If we flip this inside, no, this is the inferior temporal gyrus. Okay. Now I want you to see this model because this one is actually looks a bit better compared to the other one. Okay. So this one here is the inferior temporal gyrus. Okay. So this is the inferior temporal gyrus. This is the posterior portion or posterior end, and this is the anterior end over here. Okay. So inferior temporal gyrus. This is the collateral sulcus. This is the fusiform gyrus. Okay. And this is the parahippocampal gyrus. Okay? And this one here is the uncus. Okay, again. This is the inferior temporal gyrus. This is the collateral sulcus. This is the fusiform gyrus. And this is the parahippocampal gyrus. What is this called? Ano pa? Unsa naman ni siya? No? Unsa na siya? It's the lingual gyrus. Okay. So if you think about it, this is actually the group of gyri here is like the fat end of the turtle, the neck. Okay, it's like the neck of the turtle. Okay, so inferior temporal gyrus, collateral sulcus, and the fusiform gyrus. Then you have the lingual gyrus over here and the calcareous fissure. Okay? Any questions or clarification so far? None. Oh, so we're done with our dorsolateral surface, we're done with the basal, and we're done with the median surface. Okay? Any questions? None. So now I want you guys to go to your tables. I want you